Hi, I am Max and this is Assignment Experts channel. Today let's consider a function with logarithms. Let's find domain and range of this function. As we can see, our function is of the kind y equals log base a of f of x. To find domain of such a function, we need to consider a system with two conditions. The first condition is domain of the inside function f of x, and the second condition is f of x is greater than 0, because as we know the expression under the log sign must be greater than 0. Now let's construct the system for our example. The first condition will be domain of square root of x, and the second one is square root of x is greater than 0. What do we know about the square root of x? Well, actually the domain of this expression is x is equal or greater than 0, because the expression under the even root must be non-negative. So here we have x is equal or greater than 0, and the second condition gives us x is greater than 0. So the second condition drops out 0 from the first one, and now we have our domain. Domain of this function is x is greater than 0. Now the range of this function. First we need to find derivative of our function. As we can see, we have the inner and the outer functions here. So we need to apply the chain rule. Let's recall this rule. If we have a function y equals g of h of x, then derivative of this function y prime equals derivative of the inner function h prime of x times derivative of the outer function g prime of h of x. Now let's apply this rule for our function. Y prime equals derivative of the inner function square root of x, which gives us 1 over 2 times the square root of x, times derivative of the outer function, which is ln of the square root of x, and gives us 1 over the square root of x. And this is equal to 1 over 2x, which is not equal to 0. This means that our function has no points of extrema. Now to find the range of this function, we need to consider two limits. The first is limit of f of x when x tends to 0, and the second limit is limit of f of x when x tends to infinity. In our case, there are limits of ln of a square root of x when x tends to 0, and limits of ln of a square root of x when x tends to infinity. Why do we have these two limits? Well, we have our domain, x is greater than 0. We can also represent this as an interval from 0 to infinity. So to find the range of our function, we need to know how the function behaves on both ends of this interval. That's why we have these two limits. Now let's find them. Limit of ln of the square root of x when x tends to 0. If x tends to 0, then over here under the ln sign, we'll have something very close to 0 and positive. To obtain it, we need to raise the base of a logarithm to the extremely large negative power, which is negative infinity. The second is the limit of ln of the square root of x when x tends to infinity. In this case, under the log sign, we have something very large and positive. So to obtain it, we need to raise the base of this logarithm to the extremely large positive power, which is the positive infinity. So now we know these two limits, and we can write the range of our function. The range is an interval from negative infinity to positive infinity, or the whole set of real numbers. So here we have the answer. We've found domain and range of this function. Thanks for watching us, guys, and subscribe for updates. Goodbye and see you soon.